Star Wars The Acolyte, the latest show in a long line of troubled productions to be served off the Disney Plus assembly line for mass consumption. And when I say mass consumption, who am I really talking about? Star Wars fans have been long divided since the days of the prequels, but under the shadow of the Disney Empire, see what I did there? Things have not gotten better. In fact, due to the supposed yassification of Star Wars,
yes,
many fans have alienated themselves from the audience almost completely. However, before you get triggered and call me a racist, I know you're out there. I'm not your enemy. I'm not. I promise. I love Star Wars. Always have. I'm not here to hate. I'm not here to view Star Wars through any particular political lens. I'm simply here to observe and report when it comes to what's actually being shown to us in the story, the production, the characters, and the overall logic of the show's universe. Think of it like an autopsy. Black, white, brown, yellow, green. Doesn't matter the color of someone's skin. The real important stuff is what's beneath the surface. I may or may not like the show, we'll find out, but my opinion is always going to be based in the reality of the storytelling itself. Nothing more. I may poke fun at both sides here and there when it comes to metacultural commentary, but my goal is not to insert politics, no matter if Disney themselves tend to do so, and no matter if other YouTubers on both sides of the fence also do the same thing. I'm simply here to break down the content and expose the good, the bad, and the absolutely downright disgusting when it comes to the storytelling. That's it. Simple. So, if you're here with a political agenda from either side, I won't quite be scratching that itch for you. And quite frankly, if that hurts your feelings, well, you can simply get f***ed. Okay, now that I've cleared the air, let's dive right into The Acolyte Episode 1 in this autopsy of Star Wars. And oh boy, this video series is gonna bang. So strap the hell in, and let's jump to hyperspace for an adventure through the familiar world in a galaxy far, far away. Let's do this. Okay, so we're clearly back in the Star Wars universe as we start with an opening title card giving us exposition on the background of the story. Something here seemed a little off because of the font. I don't know what it was, but it does kind of harken back to the old school style of Star Wars. It feels very 1980s, so I'll give it a pass. Not a big deal. Basically, we learn that we're set back in the timeline 100 years in the past before the prequels, a time of peace during the golden age of the Jedi. I believe this is called the High Republic, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, or I'll just delete that from the script. Who knows? Anyways, a splinter cell of Force users in dark corners of the galaxy is at work, and one of them is our main antagonist, a dark Jedi or potential Sith-style character who's out for revenge against a specific group of Jedi. We don't know why, we just get a classic J.J. Abrams mystery box right off the bat.
Who's that? We don't know. Mystery box.
And to be honest, I'm fine with that. We need some mystery, we need some intrigue to keep us hooked. But let's see if they can make a satisfying delivery on that premise. Moving forward, we now pan down to the planet Ueda. I think that's how you say it? Ueda. I don't know. Anyways, I'm butchering that. Now, we instantly lock in on the dark side Force user, May. Now, we don't really learn her name until way later, so I'm skipping ahead with this detail, but it's very important to understand my analysis, so we'll call her by her actual name. You know, I don't mind the costume design here, actually. It doesn't stand out too much. It's not super memorable, but I do love the little medieval details. I also just can't stop thinking she's wearing a literal beach towel on her head. Overall, 7 out of 10 on the costume. The main color of the costume is purple, signaling potential dark side energy, or perhaps a conflict within his character, as characters like Mace Windu have a purple-colored saber, and Mace was known to be able to channel both sides of the Force while remaining a Jedi. So maybe there can be some sort of redemption for this character when it's all said and done. Who knows? If the cloak was red, it would be way too blatantly dark side, and if it was all black, it would probably just be too basic and forgettable. So colors are nice, and purple makes the most sense, so I like it. Anyways, May pulls up to this village and pays off a local gatekeeper or a homeless alien. I can't really tell what this character is. It reminds me of the Jack Sparrow entrance when he tries to pay off the dock manager. But the difference is, Captain Jack's intro is a little more drawn out, and by the end of it, we understand his character almost completely before any real action happens. You know, before he even meets the boatman, we already learn a lot about his character. So far, we know nothing about May, and this is sort of a problem for me. This scene does feel a little forced, no pun intended, and a little rushed. We'll get to that as well. Again, I do like the costume design on this alien a lot, though. Classic Star Wars weirdo alien thing fits right in. We then immediately enter a cantina because Star Wars, right? We have to have a cantina. My only problem with this setting is that it's not very memorable. I wish it had a more defining atmosphere like Mos Eisley. But hey, Disney has never been the best at recreating the cantina vibe. Okay, that shit's iconic. Insert cantina music. Anyways, May then immediately enters the conflict with Jedi Master Indara. Now, I do like that the scene is, very fast-paced and it rushes right into the conflict, but it also is a little bit jarring at the same time. Now, this is Jedi Master Indara. I call her Trinity because it's the same actor, Carrie-Anne Moss. She played Trinity in The Matrix, and she fights exactly like they do in that famous film, The Matrix, her most famous film. So it kind of makes sense. I like the homage. Now, May literally says, "We have beef, let's fight."
We have unfinished business. Attack me.
Now, while I appreciate the fact that we jumped directly into an exciting scene, something again just feels a little forced here. Everyone in the surrounding part of the cantina heard this and starts busting out laughing. I can't help but think they represent the audience laughing at the character dialogue. Little meta joke there, okay? Forgive me. It's intriguing that she doesn't want to just waltz in and immediately blindside the Jedi here and go for an attack right away. She seems to have a code of honor. She wants a fair fight, or maybe even an unfair fight. She wants to be the underdog in this fight. She doesn't pull out a lightsaber at any point, Anyways, Trinity then says, "Jedi don't attack the unarmed." But May then replies,
"Yes, you do."
From what I can gather so far, this dark side user here, May, was seemingly wronged by the Jedi, warping her worldview and perspective on the Jedi. And again, we don't quite know why. Mystery box. We then burst into a fight scene where May starts attacking everyone around her left and right in order to provoke Trinity. Now, if we rewind here, this detail is insanely hilarious. She kicks this dude's chair out and then he collapses on the floor. But right after he does that, we also get this quick shot. She literally curb stomps the dude after downing him. And when you play it back multiple times, it just keeps getting funnier. She judo chops the out of the second idiot and then slams his head on the table. Hilariously, Trinity takes her sweet ass time loading into the fight scene. I think she might have high ping or something. All right. Shitty video game joke, forgive me. Seriously, if you pause it at this frame though, Trinity is literally just watching this GTA server of a cantina get absolutely worked by May. And in classic fight scene fashion, nobody attacks all at once. They funnel themselves in one by one. Okay, I kind of hate that shit by now, but whatever, we'll move forward. Now, May is able to throw this guy 10 feet over the table with no indication that she's actually using the Force. Typically when they use the Force in Star Wars, there's some sort of audible cue that lets us know that there's supernatural powers at play. I don't think she's even using the Force yet. I mean, this kind of broke my immersion for a minute, to be honest. I would say the same thing for a male character of her stature as well. So before you toss insults in the comments like an absolute bozo, take a little breather, grab a snack, because we're far from done here, okay? Now, she kicks an old priest through a window, chokeholds this dude, and then we get a Deus Ex weapon holster jam. Seriously, I'm tired of things working out so conveniently in action scenes, especially when it comes to Disney Star Wars. It's just a problem, and it happens in other franchises as well. We all know this. This is how movies work, unfortunately, a lot of the time, especially in bad movies and shows. Now, the guy in the chokehold doesn't seem to be struggling too much as she does this dramatic turn towards our failed gunslinger here. She then flips over a table and does this with it. At this point, we have to assume she's using the Force at all times. Otherwise, the immersion is broken. Nobody can kick a table that far. I would have loved little Force audio cues during this fight scene so we can actually tell when she's using her power. For example, I've edited a Force sound effect in myself to demonstrate this fact. Now, finally, after we're allowed to see how cool and badass our main villain is, after several innocent folks have their shit kicked in, the Jedi finally enters the fight. Like, what were you doing, Trinity? What, you just wanted to have a good laugh and watch people get beat the up? I don't understand why you waited so long. Again, high ping, something like that. Now, this is where they go full Kung Fu Panda Matrix mode with the fighting, and people are complaining about this, but honestly, I simply can't get enough for whatever reason. It's just satisfying to watch. I know it's supposedly not Star Wars, but get over yourselves. It's just a fun fight scene. It's not that deep. I'm more worried about the story details and the machinations and the dialogue from the characters. That's what we're focused on, okay? Now, if it gets out of hand, I will make comments about the fight choreography, like the table kick and the guy not really struggling while he's in a chokehold. You know, those little things do bother me, but overall, it's fine, okay? It's fine. May then pulls out a dagger. Now, keep in mind, she's gonna pull like 7 more of these like an absolute wizard. I mean, she is a space wizard. Now, it's important to note that she's using a weapon here to attack the Jedi. That's a very important detail in this show. She's using steel. She's using steel daggers, a weapon. Now, May stabs at Trinity, but gets blocked by the Force. Also, a very important detail to note that Carrie-Anne Moss, aka Indara, is able to fully stop May using the Force. She has that ability, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, May pulls an Obi-Wan and makes for the high ground.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
I think Will Turner or Jack Sparrow also did this in Pirates of the Caribbean, and it worked out pretty well for him, so we'll see how this plays out. Trinity takes her sweet-ass time again, allowing May to get a hostage, but she makes up for it by doing Jedi parkour. Cool. My question is, since we know that Trinity can stop May with the Force, why doesn't she just stop May in midair while she was jumping? She was clearly just watching her, and she's got Jedi reflexes, obviously. She could have just pulled her out of midair, and that would have been hilarious. It would have been a way more dynamic and engaging fight scene for me if something like that happened. But no, Trinity has to watch cool Jedi parkour so we can get a longer fight scene. I don't know. What's going on, writers? What's going on? Hire me. Now, Trinity calls in an unidentified Force user.
I have an unidentified Force user.
To the Jedi police, and then stops the hostage from falling. So we see she really can halt a body in midair, right? She had the perfect opportunity to do so with May about 10 seconds earlier. Now, if your argument is that she can't Force freeze May entirely because May is also a powerful Force user, that's proven false right here after some quick Matrix fighting. So again, what was she doing not using this power way earlier in the fight scene? Little things like that do bother me, although they are nitpicks, but it's fun to point them out, right? I call them dingleberries, It's like the opposite of an Easter egg. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. Just bear with me. Let's move forward. I am talking negatively here, guys, but I actually do enjoy the fight scene overall. And when I first watch it, it was pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting, okay? Now we get another Force push, further hammering home my critique, and then May goes on the attack, but she gets weapon jacked by Trinity. I love seeing little Force moves like this where she steals the dagger. It's slick. Anyways, Trinity pulls down May's mask and discovers it's someone she indeed did used to know. It seems like May ultimately wants to be recognized since this mask was an absolutely terrible attempt at truly hiding her identity. And for what it's worth, I actually do appreciate the acting done from our lead actors here so far, okay? That's not the problem with any of this. Although Trinity's not really doing anything too crazy, if we're gonna be honest. Now, despite the acting, we then get a very robotic piece of dialogue.
What are you doing here?
And then May literally says,
I'm here to kill you.
Pretty on the nose, whatever. I kind of wish this interaction was more nuanced and more detailed. They could have written it so that we get the implication that she's here to kill Trinity, while perhaps revealing more character history and motivation as to why. It was kind of a poor attempt at dialogue for me. May then pulls 4 more daggers out of her ass as she tries to 360 no-scope Trinity. Now, I wish the choreography here was a little faster and more polished with Trinity. It seems like the daggers were way too slow and staggered. As we know, though, she is lagging with high ping, and it is hard to hit someone when they have high ping, okay? You know how that goes. May then pulls another dagger out of her ass, and Trinity says, you don't want to go down this road.
You do not want to go down this road.
Classic Star Wars style dark side reference, but it feels a little too basic for me. Not gonna lie, that's all I'm saying. But she redeems it a little when she says this.
A Jedi doesn't pull her weapon unless prepared to kill.
A Jedi doesn't pull her weapon unless prepared to kill. Now, this rings true to Star Wars for me, and it illustrates how Jedi avoid all conflict until there's simply no other way. It can be interpreted the wrong way, however, but she says prepared to kill. And by this, she means that the Jedi accept that when they pull out a lightsaber, there very well may be some loss of life in the resulting conflict. I mean, it's a goddamn lightsaber. However, if Disney Star Wars has shown us anything, lightsabers can't do shit. Now May pulls yet another dagger out of her ass. Side note to Editor Stark, can we get a dagger counter for May, please? Editor Stark here, and yes, we can. And I've already implemented it, so back to the video. I don't know who that guy was. He looks exactly like me. Strange, that guy looks exactly like me, but he just doesn't have his jacket on. I don't know. Hope he makes a good video. Anyways, May then uses the barkeep as a distraction as she tosses a dagger down at his head. Trinity is obviously forced to be distracted by saving him, and so May is able to throw a dagger straight into her heart. And I can't help but think this is an allegory for what a lot of Star Wars fans have been feeling under Disney. I'm sorry, the joke had to be made, okay? It just had to. Trinity seemingly dies, and May goes to retrieve her dagger from the bar, and she threatens the barkeep, possibly about to attack him or kill him, but she stops when she sees his child. Now, to me, this kind of makes no sense. She only attacked people because she needed to provoke Trinity. That was her only goal, and she clearly has some sort of level of honor. So why would she raise her blade to this innocent man in the first place? Perhaps the dark side is kind of taking over or some shit, I don't know. I think they just wanted the scene to feel a little more tense towards the end. And so they did this. It also shows that, you know, she doesn't want to commit violence in front of a little girl. Maybe she's a little bit sensitive. Not sure. Dynamic character, to say the least. Confusing character, but, you know, complicated nonetheless. We then get the Acolyte logo card, and we cut to a ship in space where we see May? How could this be? But this is clearly a different character because of the way she carries herself. Anyway, she grabs her droid friend Pip, and she says,
"Whoa, inside voices, Pip."
Now, is it just me, or is the droid's volume level here pretty standard? I didn't get the sense that he was shouting at all. This kind of threw me off. The dialogue is just very shaky at best so far in this show. Not necessarily a good sign for me. Hopefully the story can make up for it. She heads out of her room to do a job, and we get a little gonk-style droid in the background. It's not going to make the show any better, but it's just nice to see. Now, her friend here tells her about an emergency repair on the shields as the Nemoidian Trade Federation aliens, you know, these guys from the prequels, walk by. Now, they used to have Asian accents.
What is going on down there?
We lost the transmission, sir.
But apparently it's racist if you have an Asian accent. I don't know why that just having an accent like that is racist. I thought we were all about representation. Now, jokes aside, I'm not trying to get too political here. It's not the point, as I said, but it's just funny. It's just a funny detail. You know, when they change things, I am going to notice, bad or good. You know, I would think maybe it's cool to have a Asian alien, an Asian sounding alien. I don't know. I think it's just cool. If there's any Asian people in my comments, let me know. Let me know. I want to hear it. Maybe it is offensive. Who knows? I'm not Asian. Editor Stark here. I'm cutting out his rant. Okay, he said he wasn't going to get political, so we're gonna cut that out. Okay, let's get back to it. Did I just get cut? I just got cut. God, back to the goddamn video. Jesus. Anyways, they head out to do the repairs, and honestly, I love the detail that they have to use ropes and magnetic boots to keep them tethered to the ship. Obviously, there's no gravity in space, so bravo. Well done with the logic, with the physics. Now, the Trade Federation guys accidentally let it slip over the comms that the mechanics, or the mechnics, as they call them in this world, are quite disposable.
Their grease grubbers are disposable. Our cargo is not.
Then May says something that's going to piss off all of the grifters, and she calls the only man on the job with her the real disposable one.
Frankly, I'm hurt because Philip is clearly disposable, but me, on the other hand, come on.
Again, Editor Stark here to translate what he means by this. He's not inserting his own agenda. He's simply commenting on the state of the meta culture surrounding Star Wars. So don't get your panties in a bunch, grab some water, come back, and let's watch the rest of the video, okay? Jesus, not that deep. Now, honestly, I could see her saying this to an alien friend or a droid friend or a female friend, so I didn't really read into it like that. Like I said, I'm not that guy, pal. My channel's not about that shit, so if you're looking for that, then f off. Look, I know I've been calling her May, but the story still wants us to think that she might be the same girl as the killer, so just play along with it for now. We get some tech mumbo jumbo, and boom. Fire breaks out in space. Now, before you get triggered by this, guys, I must ask you, if you have a problem with fire in space in this episode, yes, I know this is the most blatantly up close we've ever seen fire in space in Star Wars, but it has happened several other times in other Star Wars movies. So if you're going to be mad at that, you have to be mad at those movies too. And if you're going to be mad at this, you know, digression from the reality of physics, you also have to be mad that there is always sound in space. You know, the TIE fighter sounds, the X-Wing sounds, Jango Fett hypersonic bomb sounds. All those are going to go away if we follow your logic. So don't get your panties in a bunch about fire in Star Wars in space. Okay, you're really just looking for something to piss you off at that point. I understand it, but let's just move past that. Anyways, the fire kind of triggers a flashback for May here, as she's kind of experiencing a PTSD of sorts. And it's just, again, more mystery box. We don't really know what's going on in this flashback. And this obviously seems to have an immense emotional effect on May, so I hope we find out why. I'm intrigued. We then get the reveal that the Jedi are approaching this ship, and we get introduced to the guy who thinks Anakin took down the Death Star.
But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this right now.
Now, jokes aside, I thought I wasn't going to like this guy, but he's actually one of the better parts of the show for me. He's not the best actor in the show, but he does his part well enough, and I actually ended up liking him. So fair enough. The only thing I do have a problem with in this scene, though, is the Padawan. The Padawan design here is intriguing enough, but it somehow feels like a CGI cosplay at the same time. It's just something about the ears is just not working for me. Now, it's here that our guy, Jord Fandar.
My name is Jord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order, and this is my Padawan.
That's his name, Jord, the Anakin guy. Finally reveals that we've been following a girl named Osha.
We are looking for a former Jedi by the name of Osha Anaseya.
Not May. So here's our first hint that there are possibly, twins or two different versions of the same girl, or some trickery at play, perhaps. We don't know. Mystery box.
Who's that? We don't know. Mystery box.
Now the trade feds don't want to give up her location, so Jord does this.
Sublevel, bunk 23.
Jord then waits for Osha in her room, and she seems quite pleased to see that he's here. They're old friends. Jord remains stoic as he knows he's here to investigate her for the murder and possibly arrest her. I really like the tension in this scene. Jord's actor does a great job selling it for me, and he's not really the problem with this show, okay? Despite his Star Wars knowledge.
But if you can't look and see the Anakin blowing up the Death Star...
I want you to get out of this office right now. No way. You brought it on yourself. I don't want you here.
God, kill me.
To crush you like a bug.
It is kind of funny. If you love him or hate him, it is kind of funny when he said that shit, all right? You can't deny it. It's just funny. Now, Jord and the apprentice interrogate Osha, and I'm just not buying this little cosplayer vibe from the apprentice. It's just not working for me. I don't know. Feels cheap. We get a parallel to Anakin here as they talk about the Jedi having second thoughts about admitting a young, unstable Jedi to the Academy in the form of Osha.
A major concern about admitting you to the Order was your age.
And the fact that you were mourning.
We then get a sort of clunky exposition dump from Jord to fill us in on her backstory.
You lost your entire family. Your mothers, your sister, your village all died in the fire before Master Soul brought you into the Jedi.
We find out she had to leave the Jedi Order, obviously, but we don't quite know why. Jord seems to imply she may have been kicked out, but May says it was actually her choice. Jord then brings in the barkeep from the fight scene in the beginning.
She killed the Jedi and ruined my bar.
Who immediately identifies her as the killer, and Jord takes this as enough evidence to, apprehend her and take her in. So they do, they apprehend her, they leave the Fed ship, and now we're headed to Coruscant. We then enter a scene where Jedi Master Soul is training young Padawans in the ways of the Force. Kind of like this scene. It's cute. And it kind of gives that Star Wars vibe, that Jedi Master vibe. This guy, Lee Young-jong, or whatever his name is, Lee, Squid Game, he really does a great job in this show. He's probably the best actor in this show, and he kind of carries the whole vibe, the whole weight of the show, just by the way his mannerisms are and the way he speaks and his facial expressions. Love it. Great new character to the universe. Great new addition to the universe. I'm really getting Qui-Gon vibes here with everything from the vibes to the words he's saying to the haircut, everything. Soul talks about the Force as if it's something you need to follow and not the other way around, which is kind of a reference to the big mistake of the Republic era Jedi later on in the timeline when it comes to the prequel stories. I like that. On point. We then get the funniest shot in the episode as it looks like this Jedi woman is doing the automatic grocery door Force gesture. When you're cosplaying as a Jedi when you're a kid and you go to the grocery store and you open the grocery doors, even though they're automatic. Seriously though, it really seems like they're trying to overdo the whole Force thing here, because wouldn't these doors just be automatic? I mean, maybe have a button instead and we can show her Force tapping the button. That would just make more sense to me. I don't know. Just me. Again, the dialogue here is so beyond basic and obvious as Venestra, aka Shrek Lady, basically states exposition for the camera.
You and Master Indara were friends.
It would have been much better for me if we could just be clued into this fact by the reaction on Soul's face. Just seems weird that she needed to tell him that he was friends with Trinity. Like, he knows that already, and so does she. She probably could have said it in a more natural way. Again, she maybe just is a stoic Jedi. It's just not working for me. Soul is told that Osha is the suspect, and we learn that she actually studied under him as his Padawan. Now, White Gamora here says the evidence against her is strong, even though the only evidence is one barkeep identifying her. I mean, maybe they interviewed other townfolk, but no one else really got to see her whole face because she had the mask on most of the time. I mean, do the Jedi just take one person's word at face value and convict people? I guess. Anyways, my guy Soul here is simply not buying it as he says this.
There must be some mistake.
They say that they don't want this getting out to the public because if political enemies find out that a former Jedi is a murderer, it could be somehow used against them. Now, this is funny because we cut to a transport ship now and we get to see one of the most creative droids I've seen yet, the pilot droids. They also double as chairs. It's just a cool detail and something we haven't really seen before. No, I like that. Creative. Now, the funny part is that if it's so important to keep the murder suspect a secret, why did you not just have her brought to Coruscant with the Jedi who apprehended her in the first place? You just kind of stuck her on a, transport ship with one single droid guarding her. She's supposed to be a very dangerous, potentially dangerous, dark force user killer lady who is possibly going to cause a lot of problems if the secret gets out for the Jedi. So why did you not just bring her back with the other Jedi who apprehended her? Now, as the audience, we know she's not the killer, or we think she's not the killer because she's supposed to be the twin of the killer. But the Jedi still think she might be the main suspect. So why are they so stupid in leaving her on a barely guarded transport ship instead of just bringing them back? This is the first big dumb Jedi moment. And the Jedi are supposed to be at their most powerful. Maybe they're getting lazy. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense. They seem to understand the dire situation at hand, yet they don't actually treat it like that. They just talk about it like that. It's making me crazy. All right, that really took the show down a notch for me. Now we see Osha in a cell alongside other outlaws. Keep in mind, she's in her own cell. So there's no Jedi guarding her. It's just one lonely warden droid, so they call it in the captions. Now Osha sees this guy on the floor in a cell next to her with a face hugger creature being used as a muzzle. I kind of like this a lot. It's controversial, but it reminds me of the. Let me look this up. Yes. It reminds me a lot of the Borgullet. Borgullet? Yes, the Borgullet that Saw Gerrera used to interrogate Bodhi in Rogue One. That was pretty cool. Even though people hated it, I liked that. All right. Borgullet will. What does he say? Borgullet will know the truth. Borgullet will know the truth. Love that. All right, I don't know. Just gets me going. Now, obviously, this gives me alien vibes as well, face hugger and all that. Now, apparently it's called a dibuk, a parasite that subdues you and makes you trip balls.
Is it hurting him?
No way, he's having a great time.
It does weird stuff to your brain.
Nice. Where can I get one of these? Anyways, it does weird things to your brain, they say. Now, the outlaws are planning an escape, but Osha's not too sure about this plan. She wants to, play by the rules because she's not an outlaw. She's just here by accident, by mistake. They plan to take out the droids, exit hyperspace, and use the escape pods. Nice. I don't know how they're going to do this, but nice. Osha then says she's staying because she's a good girl and she has faith in the Jedi.
So you'd rather leave your fate to the Jedi?
Yes. I have faith in the Jedi.
Enjoy prison.
Now, this cyborg-looking outlaw in the background then all of a sudden just hacks the droids piloting the ship. What?
What the fuck?
Why is he not subdued with a facehugger if he has this kind of ability? Why is it so easy for him to just hack any droid he wants, especially droids on a prisoner transport ship, a very low security one at that, but still, it's supposed to be, just all dumb. It's all dumb. And why did he wait to hack until now? I guess because plot. I don't know. Now, we see the transformer droids turn into chairs, and the ship exits hyperspace, hitting an asteroid field on its way out. Now, Fatso here pulls a tentacle out of his head and goes full Man of Steel on the warden droid. Now, he uses the droid hand to open the cell doors. If he can hack droids, wouldn't he be able to hack that droid and then hack the cell door? I don't know what the hacking is, what the limitations on the hacking are. It's just because plot, he can hack, but because plot and we need action, he can't hack. It's just really, speaking of hacks, the writers, that's all I'm saying. Hate me for it, but it's true. It's true. There's some weird shit going on in the writing. Just doesn't make sense. Now, I guess since Osha wasn't quite down for the plan originally, they ditch her and get the out. Now, Osha and Facehugger Dude are the last ones left on the ship, and they're still trapped. It's okay, though, because we get Deus Ex Droid as the ship bumbles about, knocking Pip into her reach, and it magically has the ability to unlock this very specific prison cell door. Why? I understand if this unlocks doors on the ship that she was doing repairs on earlier. That would make more sense, but this is a random prisoner transport cell door. And you're telling me that her droid magically is just able to... come on. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean, okay? Now, I do like the fact that she just can't tap into the Force willy-nilly since it's been a while since she was trained in the Jedi Order. We're gonna hopefully get some character growth when it comes to the Force and her being a Jedi. That's cool. Now, Osha escapes, but she's a good guy, so she saves Facehugger Man. He gets very spooked, and he dips the fuck out to space, taking the conveniently written final escape pod. Anyways, Osha straps herself in, and we get a crash landing on a strange snowy planet called Karlak. We then cut back to Coruscant, where we meet a new Padawan.
Vanessa Rowe requests your presence at the detainment level.
This is Jecki, played by Daphne Keane, aka X-23. She then sees Sol pondering as he looks at a hologram of his old Padawan, Osha. Again, we get Qui-Gon vibes from Sol as he goes against the typical grain of the Jedi when he says this.
And both of these emotions can lead to...
Our memories are lessons. If we don't meditate on the past,
we're doomed to repeat it.
You know, typically Jedi are taught to ignore emotions like this and move past it, not to, reminisce in the past too hard, to let go. They're trained to let go.
Death is a natural part of life. Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them do not.
But Sol says that memories and emotions can be lessons to study. He's not lingering in the past so much as he's meditating on it and studying it. Now, the Jedi managed to capture the outlaws of the ship seemingly immediately, except Osha, of course, because, she's still in the ship. It's kind of funny that they blame the escape on her.
It wasn't our idea.
It was the Jedi killer!
Classic. Now, Sol confronts Mr. Facehugger, and we get this ominous line from him.
The Jedi killer is evil. I sensed her darkness.
So apparently he was able to sense evil in Osha, even though she is supposed to be the innocent one. I mean, she didn't really do anything evil to him. This is very odd and quite mysterious. I guess I kind of like it, but it's just weird. It's a very small detail that could lead to something way bigger in the plot. Also, though, how could this dude sense her darkness? Is he some sort of Force user as well? I don't know. I guess everyday citizens in the Star Wars galaxy can just sense darkness in people. Again, that doesn't really make sense. The writers are off the rails here and there in this show, just truly mindless when it comes to writing some of these details. Now, Sol mind soothes the Facehugger guy, and Facehugger reveals that Osha helped him even though she didn't have to. Now, this gives Sol some desperately needed evidence to perhaps prove her innocence further, and so he pursues the lead. We then cut back to the crash scene with Osha, and she gets spooked by this vision of a young girl and decides to follow it. We abruptly cut right back to Coruscant, and the editing is kind of jarring, but okay, I guess. We learn this is Jecki's first mission as a Padawan, and they're gonna need backup. And we get this cheeky little interaction between Sol and Jecki.
Is it Yord?
what's wrong with Yord?
Nothing. No, he's Yord.
I'm not sure if this is supposed to be ominous or comedic. Is Yord an idiot? Is he maybe odd or psychotic or chaotic? What's wrong with Yord? Okay, I want to know what's wrong with Yord. Then we get something that honestly didn't piss me off. It's just kind of stupid for two reasons. I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, and I'll tell you why. Now, when they meet Yord, he has his shirt off, and he's clearly post-pump and even flexing a little. Like, they really want to make this guy look ripped, okay? They really do. Now, they're kind of sexualizing him a little bit here, clearly. Like, come on, let's be honest. And they would probably never... Disney would never do this with a woman, all right? It's okay, though, because we have the original trilogy for that. We got Slave Leia, and yeah, we got Slave Leia. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to get all political about this. It doesn't really bother me too much, but just search your heart. On either side of the equation, you'd know this to be true. You'd know this to be true. Anyways, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Secondly, why does he need to have his shirt off, though? What does it add to the scene, and what does it add to the character outside of, ooh, he's sexy and strong? It's just another pointless piece of hypocritical writing from Disney here. I'm sorry. I just have to say that. That's as far as I'll go. Now, Yord apologizes for his error.
I thank you for choosing me for this mission. I should have brought Osha and myself. I apologize for my error.
Of leaving the most important prisoner in a long time on a transport ship with no security measures, basically. What a dumbass. I just don't understand this. Maybe they threw in the funny comment from earlier about Yord to compensate for his lack of logic, or mostly for the shitty plot logic, I'm guessing. I don't know. It's not enough for me. It's not enough. I guess we're meant to believe that Yord is just kind of a dumbass. Oh well. Now, the Jedi head out to Karlak, and we get back to Osha. She's now fully confronting the mysterious child, and we discover it's the younger version of her twin sister.
Hello, Osha.
May,
Boom, reveal. This initiates a Force time flashback of sorts as she's haunted by a memory from her past. She's running from a fire in the woods. I guess this is like a dyad in the Force, similar to Rey and Kylo. I kind of enjoyed that aspect of the sequels, as bad as they were, so I like this. We then get a Dr. Seuss riddle about the connection between the twins and May.
You're with me, I'm with you. Always one, but born as two.
And she reveals that she indeed did kill Trinity.
Did you kill Indara?
Yes.
And she says, I'll kill them all. Again, very on the nose, but she is a little girl in this scene, so I guess whatever. Now, Osha wakes up from this Force vision. This scene basically exists, to tell us that she has an evil twin. Whatever, kind of cool. We then cut right back to the 3 Jedi on their ship, and Jecki says, permission to speak freely. She should have said permission to ask for plot exposition because she then asks Sol about Osha. Sol says, 16 years ago on her home planet, he witnessed a fire that her sister started. And I'm calling it now. This fire is going to be revealed to have actually been started by May or one of the Jedi or somebody else. I think that's going to be a big point of confusion in the show. Who started the fire? I mean, the facehugger guy somehow did sense darkness in Osha, so maybe she's the villain after all. We don't know. We don't know. Mystery box.
Who's that? We don't know. Mystery box.
Now, we learn this is also the reason, probably likely, why May wants revenge so bad, as she was blamed for the fire and possibly left behind by the Jedi to die. I mean, I'd want to kill them too, so I guess this is pretty good plot motivation for me. Not gonna complain there. Apparently, though, barely anyone knows she had a twin. There was only a few Jedi at the scene when this happened, and May was the one who was rescued and brought into the Jedi Academy. Sol then says he witnessed May die in the fire, so somehow May returned.
We've decoded the intel from the First Order spy, and it confirms the worst. Somehow Palpatine returned.
But if you can't look and see the Anakin blowing up the Death Star...
I want you to get out of this office right now. No way. You brought it on yourself. I don't want you here.
God, kill me.
Somehow Palpatine returned. Anyways, the exposition conversation is over, so the ship conveniently arrives perfectly on time for the plot to continue. That's going to be a theme in this show. Everything is perfectly contrived to happen at the perfect time. There's going to be a lot more of that, especially in episode 2. Especially in episode 2. Oh boy. We then cut right back to Osha, and she makes her escape from the ship as she sees the Jedi approaching in the sky. Yord says no one can survive this crash.
There's no way she could have survived this.
But if that's the case, the ship would be a lot more damaged than it is, and there would be a body somewhere, right? There'd be a body or blood or something. I don't know. You know what happens when you crash and die? There's a body and there's blood, right? I don't know. Yord's kind of an idiot, so it doesn't really matter. He's the resident dumbass Jedi, as we mentioned earlier. Now, Jecki also says, clearly someone's been here. The show never tells us how she knows this. She's just super duper smart girl, and she knows this. Like, seriously, how the fuck do you know this? Are you Sherlock Holmes? It's your first mission. You're a Padawan. Oh my. All they had to do was show some footsteps on the floor and show Jecki, pointing at them, and then everything would make sense here. But apparently the writers aren't smart enough to do even that. Disappointing. Now, shout out to my man Sol here. You can really see the distress on his face as he's trying to work out what's happened. He's probably the best actor on the show. Anyways, they follow Osha into a tight pathway in the rocks, and Yord is the only one to ignite his saber, which is yellow. Now, what could this mean? Could this mean something? I don't know. Now, they find Osha at the edge of a cliff, and they say,
Stop! In the name of the Republic and the Jedi Order!
They really do sound like CW space cops in this show. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little corny, but essentially they are space cops, so I guess it's fine. Of course, Osha slips off the fucking edge, but Sol saves her with the Force. Osha! And holds her there dramatically for the camera so we can get the dramatic shot. It just has to happen like that, I guess. I don't know. It just takes me out of the show a little bit when shit like that happens, when we know they're playing it up for the camera. But whatever, it's dramatic. Now, Sol says he believes that Osha is innocent, and they take her back with them. We then cut to a beach somewhere, we don't know where, and we get our first look at the real big bad of this show, addressing the evil twin sister.
An acolyte.
Maybe a Sith or a Dark Jedi or some sort of evil Force user. The voice here isn't really that impressive or familiar. It's sort of just generic.
The Jedi live in a dream they believe.
But okay, I guess. Spooky. It's like, it's basically discount Kylo Ren, let's be honest. This is discount Kylo Ren to a T. I'm not going to get too much into theories on who this could be until the next episode, the next video I do. So stay tuned for that if you're looking for my take on that. Now, Edgelord here says, if you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. I'm just left baffled here at this dialogue because what the fuck was the entire opening scene then? She literally killed a Jedi with a weapon with steel. Now, okay, this could mean that if she kills a Jedi with a weapon, that she'll fail some sort of test. But then that doesn't really line up with the dialogue because Edgelord also says that, you know, weapons are no match for a Jedi. So it's just very confusing and very convoluted at the same time. Nothing makes sense. I don't know. This is all very confusing, but it's okay. Mystery box. We then get the final line of the episode here.
An acolyte kills without a weapon. An acolyte kills the dream.
Now, this is downright hilarious in a super meta way because for a lot of people, apparently this show was the final nail in the coffin of killing their dream of having good Star Wars again. So just a funny meta commentary there. And with that, the episode is now over. Boom, done. First episode, about 34 minutes long, something like that, 35 minutes long, something around there. Not too long, you know. These Disney Plus episodes, man, they got to get longer. I like it. Shout out to Andor. Shout out to Andor. We need more Tony Gilroy in this, all right? We really do. So now that we've recapped the entire episode and I've given you a scene-by-scene autopsy and breakdown of the plot, the characters, the dialogue, the logic, and the story, let's talk about the show overall for a few minutes before we wrap up the video. Now, the production value. Is this the best looking Star Wars show so far? No, I think that goes to Andor. Now, the show doesn't look too terrible. As I said, it looks pretty cool, but it did cost $180 million for 8 episodes. So that's like, it's like $23 million per episode. And they're like 35 minutes long. So it kind of adds up. It kind of adds up for typical Hollywood budgets. It's not the most expensive show ever made, but it's certainly not a cheap show either. The production design was the least of the problems of this show. I give it a pass. It looks like Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. I love that aspect of the show so far. Now, what I don't love, guys, you know, we talked about the good. The production design is the good. I did like the costumes. I did like the way some of the characters looked, most of them. I did like the way the sets looked. I did like the way the ships looked, the interiors looked. I did like the way the planets looked. It was all fine. That's the good. Now, the bad is some of the acting comes off a little stale and rigid, maybe due to the directing and the dialogue, which is the ugly. The dialogue and the story have some very ugly sides to them. Some very interestingly, particularly stupid choices made by the writers that make the Jedi, both the Jedi and the writers, look dumb. So overall, with that being said, I would have to give this first episode a 6 out of 10 for me. It's enjoyable enough, and because of the lack of other Star Wars content that's coming out, I am going to keep watching, and I'm going to make YouTube videos about it. So it's enjoyable enough for me to not completely shit on the show. There's some really good redeeming qualities about the show, but it's not good enough for me to say you need to go buy Disney Plus right now if you're just a casual Star Wars fan. If you already have it, go ahead and give it a shot. It's not too long. It's not going to waste too much of your time, although there is 2 episodes out already. So you'll get a good, hour of content out of that, which is nice. That is another bonus. They did drop the first 2 episodes at once. And we'll talk about episode 2. That video is dropping in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm going to do this for every episode moving forward on a lot of your guys' favorite shows. And I'm going to do this kind of stuff for movies as well. So if you like that stuff, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. Go check my channel for other videos like this. I love you 3000, and I will see you on the next autopsy of Star Wars. Bye-bye. Have a great day.